And now we're going to dive into the Ewing versus Ewing, aren't we?
Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to the Ewing barbecue, where we might want a divorce. Maybe. I don't know. My name is Mary.
I am Takapa. I mean, Josh.
And I'm Melanie.
Sarah is unfortunately out for the evening with a headache, so we will miss her very much.
I think it was the whole Takapa situation.
I think it was. It gives everybody a headache.
Yes. Jock and Ellie fighting and this and that. And it's just...
Ugh. I would like to first thank our Patreon members, Captain America, Sheen Pye, Lauren Bernheim, Anita Wren, and Kirsten Carlana. Thank you.
Yay! We need an applause sound effect.
Oh, we do. I'll have to find one.
Yes. I'm drinking bourbon, as usual. And no birthdays to report, although Saturday is April 2nd, and we all know what that is in Dallas history. 44 years ago.
The premiere.
Digger's daughter.
They're going to throw me off that ranch.
That's right, they are. At least JR is. That's all I have.
So tonight, we are talking about Season 4, Episode 20. 420. Episode 74 of the series, Ewing versus Ewing.
I want to know exactly how much Ewing oil is worth on the open market.
If I didn't know better, I'd think you were going to sell the company.
I can't live with Jock any longer.
But look at all the two of you have built together.
To hell with the Empire.
You know how much just a copper deal means to me.
Well, how can it be worth more than you and Mama?
Can you imagine what Miss Ellie's settlement might be? Money is the last thing on anybody's mind right now.
Things have come to a head.
Do I draw up the papers?
If you're really serious about West Star acquiring Ewing oil, we better move fast.
It was written by Lee Marks, directed by Irving J. Moore, and aired April 3rd, 1981.
Oh, okay. That would be 41 years ago this coming Sunday.
Wow.
Yeah. Some casting notes here. We have Lincoln Hargrave, who's played by John Randolph, who a lot of people may recognize from various roles, including Roseanne, Prizzi's Honor, All the President's Men, Heaven Can Wait, and Earthquake. But if you are a Christmas Vacation viewer, he was Clark Griswold's father.
He was. That's what it was. I was like, I knew he looked familiar, but I couldn't place it.
And
totally.
All I can think of is him in Christmas Vacation every time I look at him on the screen.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to go back now and rewatch it.
Yeah. Craig Stevens, who played Craig Stewart, Leslie's ex, is the real-life husband of Alexis Smith, who played somebody's sister later in the series. This episode was number 2 for the week. And we learned that Jock and Ellie have been married for 45 years, but in future episodes, in season 7, it seems to establish a longer marriage. So, little continuity thing there.
Okay. Yeah, so 45 years, 1981 would be 1946, right, for their marriage?
36.
36, sorry. Math was never my...
Yes.
Okay, 36.
I was going to say, what, did you go to Needham High School? No.
I went to Bay City Central, man. That's not known for.
What was that, like Another World or something? Bay City?
Bay City, yeah. It's where the Bay City Rollers got their name.
That's true.
Yep.
Because they threw something at the map, and that's where it landed, right?
They did, yep. They threw a dart at the map, and it landed on Bay City, Michigan.
Better than Kalamazoo City Rollers.
That's true.
That doesn't
Very
flow.
True. No. So, yeah, 1936. Okay, so the episode starts on a very fancy shot of, like a helicopter. I'd call it a drone shot today, but there weren't drones then. So it's like a helicopter overhead shot of Dallas.
And that brings up an interesting point, because somebody has mentioned before that they've asked, do people notice in the opening credits the helicopter?
I have always noticed it.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Yeah, and that's obviously where they were shooting the aerial footage from. But
Yeah. And the sun was in the wrong spot.
that was a funky shot, though.
It was interesting, but it's one of those things that makes you really notice how much the budget has risen for the show, that they can do that sort of stuff. Unless it was just stock footage, but I bet it wasn't.
It obviously was shot earlier because they're not on location at this point in the season, so.
Right, of course, yeah. But it's whether they actually shot it for the show or did they buy it from a stock footage place.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, don't know.
That's an interesting point.
So Donna is accompanying, oh my God, I can't say that word, Ellie, to consult with Lincoln Hargrave, a divorce attorney.
So that's what Clark Griswold's father was doing.
Yeah.
She's trying to talk him out of it, though. Or she's trying to talk her out of it.
Donna, yeah.
Yeah.
She's definitely trying to talk her out of it.
I said, isn't it usually Sue Ellen that doesn't want to talk about it?
That's
Ellie
true.
right now.
Miss Ellie doesn't want to talk about nothing this whole episode. She's like, I don't want to talk about it.
And then Jock has got a lot of nerve sitting there in the scene telling Bobby how to vote. He says, son, It doesn't matter if he's a politician or if it's Ewing Oil. You're going to do what I tell you?
And Bobby doesn't give a fuck.
No.
She's like, no, Daddy, no.
No, is that impropriety? I don't know what that is. It's something.
Yeah. It was inappropriate. Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby was asking if Takapa is worth more than his marriage, Jock's and Ellie's marriage.
And Jock just doesn't even seem to know what he's talking about. He's like, he's just so hard-headed in this thing.
That's a big similarity I can see between him and JR right there. You could be trying to talk to him about the important stuff and they just, it won't register.
Right.
It won't register.
And he's just being so hard-headed until Bobby says, what if I could find a way out of this entire situation? And then Jock is like, that might be a good idea.
It's not so bad. Not so bad.
Yeah, he was like, all right, maybe we'll do it. Maybe.
I said, dumbass men, I swear to God.
Right. I swear to God.
Yeah, actually, I put ISTG in my dumbass men.
ISTG?
I swear to God.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I missed that. I was thinking, which I don't do that often.
So then we're in with the lawyer and Lincoln Hargrove. And he's also trying to talk Ellie out of the divorce, which I'm assuming they might be old friends. That's why she's going to see him or something, because he seems personally invested. And he's just kind of like, are you sure you want to get divorced? Because, I don't know.
And again, I reiterated, fuck these dumbass men.
Right.
She came to you saying she wants a divorce, buddy. And basically, if you don't take the case, she'll find somebody who will.
Well, okay, this guy is super unprofessional, and we're going to see how in a little while, but he's just basically, he's not speaking, he's speaking with her more on a personal level than a personal level, and at this point in the episode, I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just trying to look out for her, but...
Oh... That's so nice because I wasn't. I was like, leave her alone. She's consulting you for something she's pretty damn sure she wants to do. Even if she doesn't end up going through with it, she's pretty angry right now. She's angry enough to know that she's you can't talk her out of it. Don't try to sweet to Miss Ellie this, and go have your tea that. No, don't fuck with Ellie Ewing.
Right, because she was just there to get information.
Considering that. Obviously, at this point in the series, it seems like she doesn't drive. She has to go through all this effort to get down there, have somebody bring her, and to this point, she's not doing that lightheartedly.
Oh, she drives. I just don't think she wants to, because she doesn't have to.
Yeah, maybe.
Right. At this point in the series, she's enjoying until she gets that little white car later on with the
Cabriolet. I mean, man, wouldn't she want to drive?
So, yeah, she threatens to get another lawyer if he doesn't do it, and that's where we leave it.
And she says the hell with the Empire.
Yeah. Because she doesn't give a shit about it. Like, that's not her thing. It's never been her thing.
It's...
Fuck this empire. Fuck the patriarchy.
Right. She's just like, that was never my deal. Like, everybody's worried about it. I don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
Family and love is more important to her than...
Yeah. Family, love, and land. South Fork. Like, those are Miss Ellie things.
Right.
I said, I really love how strong she is. She's got a point.
Yeah.
About all of it.
She does. Completely. And it's just she's expected to care about the quote-unquote empire because the men are telling her she's supposed to, but she doesn't. So, and then she's like reached the point where she's like, I'm not going to pretend to care about it anymore because I just don't, and it's ruining her lives. It's making things worse. So why would I?
They almost had to drill for oil on her land.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Because of JR's dumbass dealings, because of her kid and his father that went along with him.
And she almost allowed Bobby to build a shopping center on part of the ranch.
Right. What the heck? Yeah. Not cool. She's done. She is done. Then we cut to Jeremy, and he wants David to cooperate with JR and whatever JR wants to do. And he's just like, tell JR anything. Like, if he wants to know what Cliff is saying, tell him anything. Unless it's really important, then tell me first, you know?
Right. And you notice that establishing shot is not the West Star building we're going to see later in the series.
Ooh, I didn't notice that.
It's like a cheap, rundown, just office building, generic office building. Instead of that high rise they have much later.
But they had enough money to propose buying Ewing oil.
Right.
Now, so.
Yeah.
I wonder if West Star at that point, I wonder if it's like, how big is it? Does it have one building that they operate in, or is there like separate buildings? I just don't have an idea of how big it is.
It might have been like the satellite and they moved the headquarters to Dallas at one point, or.
Maybe.
Well, you know they are one of the 8 largest oil companies in the world.
I do know that.
Drink. But as I was thinking, maybe they, you know what a lot of people do when they want to expand?
They open satellite offices?
No. They get investment firms to back them. And just like other little acquisitions and stuff like the people who have portfolios, they get capital and they get.
It's the acquisition and merger department.
Yes, and they may have kept the West Star name, but merged with other companies.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
But they are one of the 8 largest oil companies in the world.
Jeremy would like everyone to know.
Well, like ExxonMobil didn't used to be ExxonMobil, did it?
No, they were separate companies, Exxon and Mobil.
Yep.
Aha.
And then we go to Baxter comes in and gives JR a summary of all of Ewing Oil's assets.
Excluding South Fork, of course. He doesn't want to know.
Excluding South Fork. Basically, he wants to know how much Ewing Oil is worth on the open market.
And
sounds like you're getting ready to sell, JR.
That's not your concern.
He's like, that's none of your beeswax.
That's not your business.
Yep. Not your business. Business.
None of your business.
And then John Ross is sad. He's crying.
Oh, he's an unhappy baby, but he's sick. He's like Sarah.
He's sick. Right. He's like Sarah. But that kid is actually crying. And it sounds like that kid keeps saying daddy to me the whole time. He's like, daddy, like in toddler language. It sounded to me like he was calling for his daddy. And I was like, what did they do to that kid to make him cry for that scene?
Oh my God. Well, Tyler Banks won't remember. We probably can't ask him.
We're not going to know. His dad was probably right off screen. He looks tired. He's rubbing his eyes, and he's probably right off screen. And
didn't he cry for his mother at one point too in a different episode?
He probably did.
He was saying "mommy," and it was kind of perfect because Linda was right there, but playing Sue Ellen, but
so the mom's probably right behind camera. Yeah.
Off the shot. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of funny when they're playing like a mom-dad scene and the kids are like crying for mommy and daddy because it's like, no, they're not really crying for them. They're crying for the people off camera.
And you can usually tell too, because a lot of times the kids are doing this like, and like towards the camera.
And they'll look at them.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm sure their parents are like,
they're like,
Oh, no.
they're like, we need the money. Keep the other thing. Come on.
Just hold that. We'll give you some Cheerios.
Exactly.
do you guys remember that blooper where I think it was Linda and Larry were taking turns like picking up Tyler and he was just screaming and kicking and stuff and they went to take him off camera and Larry's like a little fucker.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Oh, he was having a tantrum. And I think Larry asked him like as JR, you want a drink? Like to yeah, they were. It's so funny. They were ad-libbing at that point, I think, because the kid just would not stop. He was
children
like,
and animals. Children
Right.
and animals.
Yeah.
You need a wrangler.
Yeah.
And when we would do video projects at the camp years ago, the director's son was like 2 or 3 years old, and we would, it was cute to put him in a scene or two here. But I always ended up, his name was Peter, so I was always listed in the credits as Peter Wrangler. I had to keep him busy until they had to put him in front of the camera.
Peter Wrangler sounds so wrong.
it does.
Or for the dog, I had to be Lulu Wrangler and just keep...
That's a little bit better.
Yeah. Now, I just remember that one scene, like I said, it was like they were ad-libbing at one point because...
I'm sure they were, because they're like,
they were like,
kid.
Yeah, because Linda was like, come on, go see Daddy. And he didn't want to go to Larry. And he's like, what's the matter, bud? You want to see Grandpa? You want a drink? And he just would not stop crying. So they had like the maid come in and they shuffled him out. And that's when Larry was like, little fucker, and they cut it.
That's so funny. I haven't watched the bloopers in a long time. I'm going to have to go back and watch them.
Oh, it's too bad some of those scenes couldn't make it in during closing credits every week.
Right? That would have been funny.
Yeah, they'd have to bleep out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I'm surprised I never had those on like TV's bloopers and practical jokes. I would always watch those and wanting Dallas bloopers, and they never had them.
No, I know they released a lot of stuff
probably because of all the obscenities.
Probably.
Well, no, they released a lot of bloopers on DVDs for like TV shows and now YouTube, but I've heard a lot of people don't want the bloopers getting out for whatever reason. Like the cast, they're embarrassed by them. And I'm like, come on.
I have edited blooper reels for when they've done commercial shoots where they have faked things to be bloopers that weren't really bloopers for a blooper reel.
Oh my God.
We used to do that for Bush's Baked Beans.
Staged bloopers. That's what they're called.
Staged bloopers, yeah.
Those aren't funny.
I know, but nobody knows they're not. But like me editing the footage and them, so.
Jeez.
I know.
That's because when they take out the
fake.
clapboard, you know they're going to be bloopers because it's okay. Bush's Baked Beans blooper reel, take one. No.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So John Ross is crying, and so then Sue Ellen calls Clint, and so she can't meet him because John Ross isn't feeling well.
And that was a little twist to me because I thought it was going to be another one of those scenes where, like, when JR and Sue Ellen expose dialogue and tell John Ross all their plans.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, okay, what's Sue Ellen going to tell him now? And then she goes to the phone and calls him, going, "What are her plans? Where are her plans? I'm waiting for her plans."
We'll never know. Yeah, we'll never know.
I'm waiting for JR to bug the teddy bear.
I mean, if he was smart.
Or that little balloon lamp on the table behind.
Stick a tape recorder behind the tilted rainbow.
But I'm really proud of Sue Ellen because a year ago she would have left the baby with the nanny or with Miss Ellie and taken off.
You're right.
And she was like, "I can't go. My baby's sick."
Mm-hmm.
That's growth.
That's a good point. Yep, that is growth.
So Pam pulls into South Fork. So we have her, actually, that's stock footage, obviously, of her turning up the road.
She's coming home early from work.
To do her quarterly report, because the phone was ringing too much.
There's too much distraction at work. So she's in the living room trying to work, and then Sue Ellen comes in and just kind of stands there. And then she's like, okay, I have to talk. And she's worried about John Ross.
That's a switch in the conversation. I was waiting for her to say something about
like Clint or something?
JR or something, or Clint or something.
It is kind of a big moment because it's Sue Ellen sharing something with Pam that really is like she knows that, that Pam cares about John Ross, and she probably doesn't have anyone else really to talk to about it because like Miss Ellie isn't there, and so I don't know, it was really sweet.
I was like, are they forging a friendship?
I know.
And Pam asks if there's anything that she can do. Sue Ellen's going to hold that favor for later.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Donna and Ellie walk in with a bombshell.
Ellie wants a Splitsville. She wants to go to Splitsville with Jock.
Yeah. She announces that she's getting a divorce, and everyone's just like, oh, shit.
On a shingle.
And then they start talking about Ewing men, and
it always comes back to Ewing men with Sue Ellen.
Right, Sue Ellen.
She's not wrong.
Makes the point that love doesn't mean much to Ewing men.
As we just saw with Jock.
Right. And she doubles down on it and says, like, not just JR, all Ewing men. And Donna takes offense because, well, you know, I guess Ray's not really a Ewing. And she's like, well, I bet he is. But Donna doesn't want to fight. But Pam.
Donna's like, I disagree.
I'm not talking about this now.
And I feel like a season or two ago, that would have been Pam being like, I do not agree. Bobby, blah, blah, blah. Pam stays really quiet.
Mm-hmm. But she wonders about Bobby getting caught in the middle with the Takapa, if it has to do with Takapa, if he'll ever forgive himself. And then...
Right.
Then Sue Ellen goes off on a settlement and the splitting up of Ewing Oil and what JR would do without his precious Ewing Oil toy, as she calls it.
Right.
See, and that's the thing. At this point, everybody's like, oh, you know, that money-hungry bitch. I'm like, Sue Ellen's not talking about the money.
Right.
Not the money. She's talking about JR is going to have, like, nothing to live for.
The company.
Right.
Company.
Because it's more than money to him.
It's his livelihood. He lives, eats, drinks, breathes Ewing Oil. So he'll be like a shell of a man without it.
He even sleeps Ewing Oil, too.
Yeah. Well, and I think she's worried.
Over.
I think she's worried that if he doesn't have Ewing Oil, this is so funny. I think right now, like, she's caught up in this little affair with Clint, and she's like, "Oh God, if JR doesn't have anything to do, he's going to be up my ass 24/7, like, because he'll be bored and looking for something to do, and like,
right."
He'll start interfering. He'll be like, he'll want to be around her.
Right. And she's like, she has it pretty good right now. She likes having Clint on the side and then living at Southwark, and that whole thing is perfect.
A side piece. She has her side piece.
She likes Clint being her side piece. It's perfect.
At the same time, she also has a soft spot for vulnerable JR.
I know. It's
I think she's also worried about catching the feels again. Because right now she's guarded with them, and she's like, "Oh God!"
And that would cut into her copulation time with Clint.
Right, it would, and she's like
she knows herself
right now. Right.
She knows herself. She knows that if JR shows himself as weak or vulnerable to her, then she's going to be like instant melt and like go right back to him. And she knows, like, back here, it's a cycle. It happens over and over and over. And I think right now she knows it, but she's trying to ignore it.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
That's 100% absolute.
Yep. And then we cut to fucking Lincoln Hargrove breaking client privilege.
I said that. Attorney-client privilege be fucked.
Right. And coming to JR and telling him about Ellie. Like, what? Garbage. Trash lawyer.
Garbage.
Yeah. I think he should just be spend his time chasing squirrels out of Christmas trees.
Right. Yeah. And then JR he immediately calls Jeremy.
Yes.
Then we get our Lucy Mitch scene for the episode. Mm-hmm. And it's same old, same old.
There was a weird establishing shot. I don't know if you noticed, before they showed the condo. It was just some like random building in Dallas, almost like it was a mistake.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
And then it cut to the, then it cut to the condo establishing shot. But yeah, Lucy's setting places for 2 cups of coffee. And then Mitch comes in. Obviously, they do their makeup, lovey-dovey, stuff like that. And apparently his car has issues with flat tires all the time.
Right. And he worked all night, and then he got a flat. He got another flat on the way home because he has an old junky car. I'm
surprised Lucy doesn't pop another car over there with all her money, and that would really piss him off.
She definitely would if he wouldn't freak out about it, I'm sure, you know?
He wants to lie down, and then Lucy's driver arrives, and she's like, oh, I forgot about work, but all of her stuff was sitting on the couch ready to go. So obviously she didn't forget about work.
No, I think she's trying to underplay it and play it cool, right? Because he freaks out all the time. So she's like, oh, right, I have to go to work. Okay, well, sorry.
And she corrected the guy when he said Mrs. Ewing. She said Cooper.
Right, because she could feel Mitch just behind her.
The dagger stares.
Right. And so, yeah, she leaves, and Mitch just stands there looking pissed.
That's their token scene for the week.
It is.
Bye-bye.
Until next week when the same thing happens all over again.
Charlene, Lee, collect your paychecks. Enjoy the rest of your week. We'll send your schedule for next week. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Back to the office.
Yeah. Yep, back to the office. Where Dave Stratton is doing the thing that Jeremy has told him to do. He goes to see JR. He's basically he's playing it like, oh, I'm just here at your disposals, whatever you need, knowing that he's going to ask him to keep in contact with Cliff, which he does.
Right, and he's going to have him feed Cliff useless pieces of information.
Right.
Which is, of course, what JR does.
Yeah. And Jeremy knew he was going to do that, too. So... yeah. And then we cut to Cliff is it lunch?
Having just had a threesome, by the way.
With Judy and Jenny.
A threesome lunch?
I totally remember what he said something about, they said something about how much they both loved his apartment last night or something like that. And I was
it was yummy. Yummy.
Yummy. It was yummy.
I didn't catch. And then I just said that he does not have much game. He's telling them that they look like twins, and they're like, I'm like, ugh, gross. I hated everything about that scene.
They're playing stereotypical bimbo blondes.
Yeah, you don't look anything alike, guys. What are you talking about? Stop it. Just stop it.
Well, it made them giggle, didn't it?
It did.
Hated it. And then he asked him about Dave Stratton, just to kind of I'm gonna try to wiggle some information about Dave Stratton.
Because I think that's the only reason he's hanging out with him, really.
Of course,
to get more information about Dave.
And if he gets his rocks off on the side, then so be it.
Added bonus, right?
Yes. Meanwhile, how convenient on the other side of the restaurant.
Yeah, Pam and Rebecca are eating also.
And they're talking about Pam's half-sister Catherine coming to visit when the semester is over.
Yeah, Catherine.
I'm curious about this Catherine. Catherine really wants
to meet Pam. She really wants to meet her.
I'm curious about this Catherine. We've heard about her a couple times, and
me too.
I'd like to see what she looks like.
And then we see Cliff see them, and him heavily disapproving.
Yes.
I thought he was going to walk over to the table. Surprised he didn't, honestly.
That's another twist for me. I thought he was going to walk to the table, and he turned and walked out instead.
Yeah.
Right. So we have Sue Ellen not revealing plans to John Ross and Cliff not making a scene. What's going on here?
Crazy.
Oh.
We have a different writer happening? I don't know.
I don't know.
And then Leslie is talking to JR about her new, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. She likes her new clients.
Her penthouse that she's looking at to get
right,
for
she's
clients.
Building a penthouse. I don't know. Something.
And he is wondering if she can make an exception about, married men. And then she says, well, I can stay and work out of the offices that I have if that will be better. He says, no, you go ahead and get them. And then they start playing tonsil hockey in his office, and Luella walks in.
I think that's my favorite part this entire episode. Luella walking in on them kissing. She was so pissed. Oh my God. It was so funny.
It really was.
She just like glaring at Leslie.
I think the only one in that office that he hasn't slept with is Phyllis.
Probably, yeah.
Phyllis would.
Luella, you're married, Luella. What are you talking about?
Is Phyllis there?
Phyllis is on, yeah. She might not have been seen in the scene, but.
Okay, because I was like, wait a minute. When did we go from Connie to Phyllis?
Connie disappeared with no notice.
We just got Phyllis.
Okay.
We haven't seen her a lot.
She filled in the making of a president as a temp.
Okay,
because Connie was out sick, allegedly.
Connie fell in love with Bobby and ran away, didn't she?
Yes.
Right.
Wasn't that the implication? Okay.
That was the implication that she just couldn't handle working there anymore and just jetted.
And I believe Jenna Michaels had left the show because she got a job on a daytime soap.
That makes sense.
At that time, so yeah. You got to go for opportunity.
Right. That is probably more steady work, honestly. So then I love this scene because Clint is showing us his electronics business, which is obviously computers.
Can he afford a better sign outside of his office? That looks like a little cheapo sign.
Probably, you would assume. Or I feel like he will be very soon be able to afford that, considering him explaining what he makes sounds like hard drives to me. Like in very early, doesn't hold much hard drives.
Yes, we're talking bytes.
Right. Bytes. And it's like a whole room. So Clint, and then he's talking about how I think I'll just lose this company to marry you. I'm like, Clint, don't do it, man. You have no idea what's coming. Don't do it.
We need to drink because he said to Sue Ellen that this company has it has a lot to do with her, and she says, I don't understand.
I don't drink. Yeah, so it's another one of those, read the room, Clint, seriously, because he's like, I'm ready this second, and she's just like, don't do that, for the love of God, please don't leave your wife, it's fine the way it is.
I just want you as my side piece.
Right, that's, how many times does she have to say it? And he lays down the line. He's just like, okay, then this is done because I don't want you as my mistress. I want you as my wife. And she's like, fuck. So that's that, Clint, I think, because it's not what she wants.
No. JR and Jeremy are going over the contract to sell Ewing Oil.
It's getting serious now.
Which requires the signature of one Jock Ewing.
Right.
And Jeremy wants to make sure and make it very explicitly clear that he doesn't care if Jock and Ellie get back together or not. That is separate from this deal. This deal is happening.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Right. He's like, I don't give a fuck about your personal business. I'm just here for the business. So FYI, he's letting JR know.
The business.
Yeah, and JR's just like, yeah, whatever.
You can trust me.
Oh, God. Famous last words.
So just like with Joe Isuzu in those commercials, you can trust me.
Yeah, right. Oof. And then the next scene is very interesting because we see Craig, Leslie's ex, where you find out that the whole deal, the whole shebang that she's pulling with JR, she already pulled with her ex. And that's how they got together.
And now all she really wants out of JR is a client list and a nice divorce settlement.
Yeah, which is pretty obvious. And she's playing it. And she's totally right. She's like, once they get it, they don't want it anymore. So you got to keep stringing them along.
And then Craig starts looking around the apartment. And she says, what are you looking for? And he said, you aren't by chance recording this conversation, are you? And she said, no, because I only record conversations of people that I can get something from.
Right.
Yes.
And she's like, I haven't recorded a conversation with you since the day we got divorced. I love that their relation, because they still seem to have like a mutual respect relationship. And
right.
I like it.
I think he appreciates her tenacity and drive.
I believe he does.
Yes.
And then we cut to Pam's office, where Pam is wearing the most 80s dress I've seen on the show thus far. It is purple, like a very 80s purple with the very 80s neckline. I feel like this is something my Barbies would have worn.
Yes. Yes.
I love it. Yeah. Love it. And then Cliff comes to talk to her. He's just like, I saw you at the restaurant with that lady, and I'm coming to warn you that she's a huge fraud. And Pam's just like
she's playing along for a moment there. Like, oh,
Cliff,
really?
You dumbass. She doesn't need any money.
Ring that bell.
Right. She's like, you're such a fool. Like, if you just for 1 second, like, she would have told you that is your mother. And the look on his face, like, he is dumb. That was the last thing he expected.
Yeah. Now, Bobby's down in Austin. Cliff is his counsel. Why is he not down there with him?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Don't know.
Cliff, you're shirking your job responsibilities here.
He's still standing there with his mouth open, probably after finding out Rebecca's his mom. So he missed the plane, maybe.
And he stayed home for that threesome.
Right. I mean, who wouldn't, I guess.
It's a good call. So this is the hearing. This is where it all comes to a head.
We are finally at the Takapa vote.
I am Takapa.
Takapa. Yeah. And they're getting ready to vote, and then Bobby's just like, hey, can I, make a little speech? And they're like, yeah, this is not, you're not supposed to be doing that. Shh. And then he's like, yeah, but it can save us some time, maybe, and money. And once he says money, they're like, okay, whatever you gotta say.
And now we learn what he had Phyllis looking into.
Oh, yeah. See, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, okay.
It all...
With the land. It all makes sense now.
So, they have the lands currently up in the corner that's in the middle of what should be the conservation land.
Yes.
Bobby has an adjacent piece of land a little further down on the little tip. Which is
already partially developed.
Right, which he purchased. Mm-hmm. Which is outside of the ring of conservation. I was going to say the ring of fire.
The ring of fire.
But we're not Johnny Cash here.
Ring of fire.
Well, it is a ring of fire to their marriage. But,
it is. It definitely is.
But he proposes to swap the land. So that way
swap.
The resort is outside of the conservation land, and the conservation land is protected.
Right.
And Bobby gets a nice tax write-off, doesn't he?
He does. And I have to say, it's actually, nice to have a map and to explain what the fuck they've been talking about all season.
Yes.
It actually makes sense for once, and you care about it a little bit. Yeah.
Would have been nice if they had the map earlier on so we knew what the hell they were.
It would have been much more helpful, yes. And everybody's like, oh, this seems like a really good idea. And like both sides are like, oh, fuck yeah, why didn't we think of that? Okay, cool. All right. And you get a tax write-off. Awesome. Everybody's happy. They both agree to it. And then Jock is just like, well, I guess everything's fine and our marriage is cool, right? Right, Ellie? Right?
Then we should hug it out, Full House style, right?
Yeah, right. And then Ellie's like, "The fuck it is."
The only thing that's over is this hearing.
Mic drop. Ellie out.
And our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Dun 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 dun.
Dun dun dun.
Which leads to Bobby returning via taxi to the South Fork soundstage.
Yes.
And Pam is upset with him at first because she thinks that he voted with Jock because Ellie came home all pissed off and went up to her room and hasn't come out.
Mm-hmm. So she's pissed at Bobby until Bobby's like, "What, dude? I saved the day. I solved the whole problem. What? Don't be mad." And then she's like, "Oh, okay."
Which is another backdoor pilot for another Bobby Ewing spinoff. Bobby Ewing negotiator. We have Bobby Ewing detective.
Yeah.
Bobby Ewing psychiatrist.
Therapist.
Yeah.
Therapist.
Yeah.
Therapist. The rapist. Therapist, yeah.
God. Thank you, Mr. Connery.
Right. So then she's like, "Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad. I guess you're cool."
Obviously, their problems are deeper. Dun, dun, dun,
Right,
dun, dun,
right.
dun, dun.
And I have added something to our drinking list. Every time Afton fucking sings, we're drinking.
One of her two songs. It's
Steal me
either
away.
or First Love is the worst. Heard of all.
Heard of all. Yeah. Drink. So Afton's singing. And,
We get a twofer in this scene because she sings both songs.
Right. And then, but while Cliff and Dave are gossiping.
Yes, they are.
Yep. So what we learn is that Hank Johnson obviously disappeared. The revolution was obviously, finance. It's been gone over. Dave says, "Oh, I'll look into it." And Cliff says, "Something about Ewing oil just fascinates me." Yeah, you want to dig and...
Yeah, really? Really? Surprise, surprise, Cliff. And then the waitress comes by and Dave's like, nah, thanks, I'm done. He gets up to leave. And Cliff is like, I'll have another. And it seems like he's had a couple at this point.
I'll bounce.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cliff, again, you were not in Austin when you should have been down there because your boss...
Right. So Dave leaves, and then Afton, who Cliff has kept noticing Afton while she was singing, and then Afton comes over, and she's like, "Do I know you?" And then he's like, "I don't, just come on, sit." So she sits, and then she's like trying to figure out how she knows him, and then she's like, "Oh, wait, you're Pam's brother." And then she tells him who she is, and she's like, "That makes us kind of related, I think."
We all seem to be related to the mighty Ewings, don't we?
Right.
This is their first scene together.
It is, yep. So, yeah, that's kind of funny. They're all related. Then we go to Jock's hotel room. He looks very thin in this scene.
He does not look good.
Yeah.
And next episode is his last.
Oh. So JR starts to tell him about selling the company, but then Ray comes in, and then he gets all distracted.
Right. Because Ray, apparently he left the plans for Takapa back at the house.
At home, yeah. And then so...
We got to go there, and then we'll fly down the helicopter.
Yeah, so Jack's like, "I can't talk right now, JR." JR's like, "I really need to talk to you, though." And he's just like, "I'll talk to you later. Bye." And JR's like, "Oh, shit."
And then we come to the final scene of the episode, which is the old set them up and put them in the room together.
Right. Yeah, because it's just funny. Ray's just in the background, like, Jock's like, you haven't found it yet? And you can just tell he's like, I'm just going through all of these maps. It has to be one of them. And he's obviously stalling.
Yeah, I mean, how big is your place?
How big is your house to begin with? Right. It's not that big.
I'm going to go into the east wing of the house and...
It's not in the bathroom again. I don't know.
Oh, sorry. Fair.
And then Donna comes in with Ellie, and everybody realizes what the jig is up, what's going on, and Jock is just kind of surprised, and Ellie is pissed.
And if you notice in this scene, when they had the close-ups on Jock, you could see, at least I didn't observe, that Jim Davis was actually shaking a little.
Oh, was he?
Yes.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
So Ray is like, because Ellie wants to just jet. She's like, fuck this, I'm not dealing with it. And then Ray's like, please, like, I have something to say. And she's like, I don't want to hear anything you have to say. And he's like, please, just hear me out. And so he makes her listen to, like, how he feels like he was kind of the problem. Like, he thought it was Takapa, but then he realized, like, looking back, like, when it started, and he realized it had to do with Gary and him, and he's just like, I don't want this to be about me, have anything to do with me. If your guy's getting divorced, like, that's awful. So he had papers drawn up to, like, renounce anything that Jock gave him.
He would rather leave, go far away, and never come back than be the cause of their...
Right. And this instantly makes Ellie feel like shit. Just, you can tell, she's just like, oh, she just realizes that, why she's been doing it, and it just makes her feel bad.
Because Gary chose to leave. He wasn't driven away.
Right. And she's been mad because she's, like, subconsciously realized it, but not wanted to deal with it, and it makes her deal with it all at once, and she just feels awful, and she ends up hugging Ray. We
have the Full House hugging it out thing at the end there.
We do, yeah, so, and then Jock is like, does that mean we're not getting divorced? And then she's just like, she's basically like, yeah, I'm sorry. And then she kind of, like, takes it all and acts like it was all her fault, which I'd like to say she's taking on a little bit more than she should, because Jock was still lying to her a whole lot.
Or he was either lying or he just wasn't being upfront.
Withheld information. Both.
Yes.
I'd
both.
say, yeah. Both.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, cool, Ellie. Like, that's a really big, good realization to make. But also, maybe Jock should have been like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, too, which he did not say. But whatever. They're back together.
They're back together, and they can grow old together and have a happy life. And
forever, really long lives together and stuff.
Credits.
End scene. So, I'm going to give this 4 bourbons and another drink. Lake Cliff.
I'm going to go 4-5 and a land swap compromise.
I did 4.75 and letting go of Gary.
Oh, that's a good one.
Oh, so now he can bang Abby.
Well, it's actually for Miss Ellie, but that's okay.
So, if you guys should check out, our listeners, check out our Patreon if you get a chance. We also have a merch at tpublic.com/user/the Ewing BBQ, or easier, just go to your show notes. The address is there. Also, if you would like to make a donation in Jim Davis's name, we are encouraging people to donate to braintumor.org. And we are also going to be making a donation in June for every new Apple podcast like or review that we get between now and May 31st. So for every like, we're going to donate $1, and we're also going to be donating 10% of our Patreon money. So it might be a good time to join Patreon just to see if it's for you.
And we'll be back with some more chapters in the near future.
Yes, we will. But if you make your own donation, just let us know that you did, and we will give you a shout out on here. And if you're not a part of our Facebook group, please go join that. It's Ewing BBQ on Facebook. We also have our Instagram, Ewing BBQ, and our Twitter, BBQ Ewing.
And I have actually reestablished the Ultimate Dallas as a group on Facebook.
That's right. That's cool. Yes,
So,
go join the Ultimate Dallas.
the page had 19,000 followers, and right now we have about 56 people on.
Yeah, it got nuked by Facebook for whatever reason. Is the website up?
We should not be using the talk about nukes.
Oh, we shouldn't. You're right. Not good anymore. Not good anymore. My bad.
Jeez.
But,
is the website up, Ultimate Dallas?
It is in the process of being rebuilt because I think they were switching, and he does want to tie in. Does want to tie in more a section for this podcast, actually.
Oh, cool. So it is coming back
So we will
soon.
have a
Awesome.
yeah.
That used to be the page where I'd get my Dallas info back in the day. Well, anything else before we go?
I can't think of anything.
What is next time? It is episode 21, season 4, episode 21.
New Beginnings, episode
New
75.
Beginnings. Which will be the last episode for Jim Davis. R.I.P. All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Please join us next time. Until then, bye.
Y'all come back now, you hear?
I stan Ray Krebs.
Next on Dallas. I'm simply saying that I cannot deliver Ewing oil right now. Jeremy, I am sorry.
Not as sorry as you're going to be.
Clint doesn't suspect it, but I've known he was having an affair. It's only lately I've realized the affair was with you.
I'm filing against you, Ellen.
Well, the breakup of a marriage is hardly a reason to celebrate.
A man, alone, next to his future wife is certainly a reason to celebrate.
I want to see the end of Ewing Oil. And if J.R. Ewing goes to jail, so much the better.
I wrote that down. That was my very
what,
last
Ray Krebs?
stan.
He stands him.
I don't know
We
what
talked
that
about
means.
this like 2 weeks ago.
We know you don't know what that means. Just leave it alone.
But what does it stand for?
It doesn't stand for anything. Standing something. Oh my God, there's a whole long explanation. Okay, do you remember the M&M?
Do I want to just Google it?
Yeah, Google
Perhaps.
it. It's STAN. Stand it.
Yes.
It has to do with this.
lingo.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
lingo. It has to
It's
do
what
with
the
that
kids
song
say.
by Eminem called
What?
Stan.
What, you're going to drive the car off a bridge? With your
In the name of a fandom?
your wife and the kid in the back or something like that? Or?
Okay, let me put it this way. I think Gen Z kind of bastardized it and turned it into something positive, actually. So when somebody says this is
anything to do with Eminem, though. I don't think it's from that.
That's where it came from. That's where it came from.
Okay.
You're such a stan.
And Toto's song Pamela is all about Victoria Principal leaving Dallas. No.
But
I'm saying I personally always associate that song with Pam from Dallas because that song came out right as Pam was leaving Dallas. So I personally always think of it as like a Dallas song.
Oh, very
I'm
interesting.
not saying they did. I'm saying I personally think so.
And they also have a song called Carmen. So is that about Carmen, Elena's
yes,
mother? No.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Is it?
It's just, I don't know. Stan, I didn't like the connotations that went with it when I realized what being a stan was. And then I was like, okay, it's just one of those words that means a super fan, but not somebody who's going to go that far. Like I said, I think Gen Z did something to it.
I love most things Gen Z's done. So,
which means
I stand Gen Z.
If they took that horrible term or song and made it into something positive, cool. I will adopt it.
Have you ever heard Tori Amos's cover?
Of what, Stan?
Do I need to?
The Eminem. Maybe. Tori Amos. I don't know if you ever listened to Tori Amos. She did a cover. She did an album where she covers songs written by men.
Oh.
But she sings them as a woman. Oh. And it's really an interesting study. Yeah.
I will need to check it out.
I recommend it. I love Tori Amos, though, so I don't know. Well, yeah. I guess I could stop recording. It's because we are done.